All right. We're going to walk through your paper here and see what you have to say, Thomas. You can follow along with me because the cursor should have a yellow circle around it. You have some idea of where I'm at as I'm going. Even if not, just what I'm saying should make it easy enough to understand with the visual. Given its history of extreme religious movements, culture is sometimes touchy subject in America. Good. I believe this is the line that I gave you, and it serves as a strong opening. Now what you're going to do is look at some of these different cults, and you're going to talk about, by analyzing the behavior and similarity of these three groups, their characters, cults, we can develop a criteria for Scientology to be judged with. Okay, now this becomes interesting because you're diving into, you're not just into the history of cults, but examples of these cults, and then maybe how that applies to something that, say, people judge to be a cult. Now, you need to put that in your opening paragraph, however. Mention that some people think Scientology is a cult. Otherwise, it feels misplaced in the opening. People just need to be able to hear, and we're going to apply this to Scientology because some people think that Scientology is a cult. This issue is very much up for the debate. Scientologists themselves, of course, disagree with this. Anyway. We have a definition of a cult. Good. This comes out of Webster's. That's fine. Is this the same definition that you want to use? Is there anything that you feel that you need to add to it? Then we're jumping down here and we're looking at different cults from the Heaven's Gate on. Fine. Good. I see that you've got some quotes here. My question is, where does this come from? So curb all human nature and difference. I think that's a very interesting thing for you to be looking at, and that's great. But where did you get this? That's something we need to know. And then a bio of Marshall. Who wrote this, right? There should be a name that goes with that. If a source doesn't have a name, then is it a good source? Now we're jumping down here, I'm assuming because this is all still rough draft. You have a page per section. Now we're jumping down to the Manson family. I'm not seeing any quotes in this section, however, not like what you had before. Again, bio Charles. Well, who wrote this biography? Where is it coming from? There are plenty of biographies about Charles Manson. No shortage of information about this entire scene. And how does this end up functioning as a cult? You've simply told me some of the stuff that they've done, but you've not really told me how it relates to the traditional definition. And again, coming down here, Jim Jones. Again, a lack of quotes. Where's this information coming from? Jonestown, what is that? That's the name of his place. That is not necessarily an author. Where are you getting this information from right now? I have some questions about that. Again, you're giving me a rundown of what happened at these places, but you're not necessarily telling me how this relates to it being a cult. That's the question I have hanging over each one of these three examples that you provided me right now. How do they come together? Are each one of these cults? To what extent are each one of these cults? Do they meet the definition that you provided earlier in here? If they've not met it, how do they not meet it? If they have met it, how have they met it? That sort of compare and contrast is the big thing that's missing from your paper right now. If you add that, you should be good. In terms of your writing's pretty solid. I'm able to easily follow what you're saying. But your research, your sources, and then the pulling together of this, comparing and contrasting the different things and seeing if they meet or don't meet your criteria is what seems to really be missing here so far. Of course, there's nothing yet about Scientology, so I can't even begin to speak to that issue. This is just talking about where we are right now. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.